Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice bring you New Mexico day trips. Visit national parks, monuments, state parks, and historical sites. See the amazing and unique desert vistas of the Land of Enchantment and walk through the visitor centers, museums, and Pueblo ruins with us. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and flavors of New Mexico. Let's have an adventure. Hello and welcome to the show. This is New Mexico Day Trips, and we're having some audio issues. Let us know if you can hear us, so we'll know if we're getting out on the airwaves. I'm Shelley Carney, and tonight we're going to be talking about the 2023 Treasures of the Earth Gem, Mineral, and Jewelry Expo in Albuquerque that we went to on Sunday. And we were going to go Friday, then we didn't, and then we went Sunday.
Because of the weather. Weather's bad.
Yeah.
Turn that banner on. We would appreciate it. Before you leave tonight, if you like our video, YouTube likes it. When you like our video, share it with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, the entirety of your social networks so that we can grow the channel. Finally, if you are not already a subscriber, this would be the ideal time to click on that subscribe button. When you see the notifications bell, click on the notifications bell, and that way every time we start a live stream, you'll be immediately informed and as a result.
In the know.
Because there's nothing better in life, ladies and gentlemen, than being in the know. Take it from the toaster.
Maybe we should listen to that, see if we can hear that. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Could you hear it?
I'm going to do it right here. Listen.
Could you hear it? Hear it? Okay.
You can't hear it?
No. I guess that's all right. I can hear you because you're sitting next to me. I can hear myself.
Man, I am going to do a complete reset after the show tonight.
Yeah.
We should not be having this much trouble with that machine.
No. I'll have to bring the old one back.
No, I'll get it fixed by tomorrow. I'll spend some time.
All right. So we see there's a couple of people listening. Let us know if you can hear us okay. I'm still not sure if we're making sound.
Just watching our mouths move.
Yeah. Are we making sound? I mean, the little bar is going up and down, so I see that.
Okay, I'm going to turn this on over
But
here.
I don't see your bar going up and down.
Checkity check, check. Oh, you're right. Wow.
What the heck, man? What?
My microphone is not on.
What Ken says?
Listen. So
I can hear you loud and clear. What?
check, check, check.
You have the sound off.
They're hearing me. No. They're hearing me through your microphone. I can hear me here, but if you listen to this, it's me picking up on your microphone.
That's not good.
No, that's not good.
No bueno. You want to start over? Or what do you want to do?
No, I don't want to start over. I want to.
Oh, Ken can hear us.
But Ken tell me that you are hearing me loud and clear, or hearing me like I'm coming through Shelley's microphone. Because if I do this, it's not going to make any difference.
Toby, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, give me a second here. Give me 1 second to type this, and then DB is up. It's fine.
The Roadcaster has experienced some changes over the past.
You know what?
Couple of weeks.
Check. So it's showing. So I'm showing myself there. I don't know why it's not showing here. Check. So that's me on your mic.
Right. You're not even showing up. How about now?
That's dead. That's completely dead.
How about now?
Nothing. Nope.
What the heck?
Are we going to force these poor people to go through our...
Oh, no.
Check. So I can hear myself in my headset. That means my mic is working. I'm hesitant to turn this off and turn it on again. God, it's just been behaving so crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. I don't know what to do.
Check.
But tonight we do want to show you some pictures of our day at the Gem and Mineral and Jewelry Expo. Did you already put the video up? Did you say?
It went up at 7 o'clock.
Oh, all right. So that's up. It was working when Shelly was moving buttons.
Can you guys hear Shelly okay?
Can you hear me?
I'm going to turn it on and off.
Oh no.
I've got to do something. It's the only choice at this point. Why is it going to? Hold on, guys. We're going to have to do an audio reset here.
There you go. Okay, we're back.
We're back. Tell us we're okay. Tell us we're okay or not.
Take off the like, share, subscribe button.
All right. Take off that banner there. Leave that banner on. So I want to tell you guys some stuff before we start talking about this week's day trip. So I'm going to switch over here. And a couple of things I want to tell you about. So number one, this is New Mexico Day Trip. Day Trips, our website. But if you go to the blogs, you can read all these beautiful stories that Shelly has written about each of our day trips. And she does such a good job of them. By the way, that's down in Alamogordo, Guadalcan. That's that Heart of the Desert wine. Yeah. I did it, Ken. All I did was unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
So visit our blog. I will put that link in here. So you guys have it, so you can read some of these stories. Shelly does such a great job of writing these stories. I feel like you guys should be reading them because they're good. And then she just recently wrote, she's starting to write blog posts for our other channel, Garage Prospecting. And this was the most recent one, Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Processing Pay Dirt, FAQs, and Tips for Finding Gold. And here's what amazes me about this woman is like prior to 3 months ago, 2 months ago, she had never heard about pay dirt prospecting. And now she writes about it like she's been doing it all her life.
Somebody has
to. Well, I can talk about it.
Somebody has to.
I can talk about
Nobody else will do it.
Okay. And then if you want to join us on Garage Prospecting, here's the show tomorrow night. And I've been rerunning tailings from previous runs just to see if I'm missing any gold. And so far, they've been relatively successful in the sense that I haven't found anything. Now, next week, I will be running a package of pay dirt that I got from Mining Magnets. It's their Idaho dredge concentrates. So I'll be running a whole new package, and we should get about a gram of gold out of that one.
Package, huh?
Pardon?
You got another package of that?
Well, when I made my first order, when I ordered first from Coulter, when I made the order and I told him what I was doing, he sent me, I bought a package, but then he sent me another one. Mm-hmm. So this is the one that he gave me. I paid for the first one and he gave me the second.
I see.
So we're going to be doing that next week. But
so when are we going to do the one we dug up out of the ground?
I think what I'm going to do with that one, you mean the one that we got in the Oregon Mountains?
Yeah, outside of Cruces.
You know what? Maybe we'll do that one next week. Now that I have the Miller table and everything, that would be a good one for the Miller table because I'm I think that whatever gold we get out of that is going to be very fine stuff and not very much of it. So now that I have the Miller table, I think we have a better shot at pulling some gold out of there.
Okay.
All right, let's do that next week.
All right.
We'll promote it.
Maybe
And if you
we'll even get another bucket full this weekend.
Pardon?
Maybe we'll even get another bucket full.
Well, we're going to be near the Caballo Mountains, and there is placer gold in those mountains. As a matter of fact, I just saw a video about these couple of hikers. They were going up the Caballo, and they were going on a hike, but they bumped into a bunch of prospectors, including Mike Punk. I think it's Punk, the guy that invented the gold cube. And they spent the next half hour with him, just watching him do dry washing and things like that. So there's placer gold deposits up there. It might be worth it. Maybe when we go up on Sunday for that, we'll tell you more about that towards the end of the show. We'll go up on Sunday. We'll be in that area up there. We might as well take a bucket or two.
I want to build a Miller table.
Honestly, it is simple enough, but for $199, the one I got off eBay and Amazon, I actually put it in our Amazon store, was $199, and it comes with everything. So it's just easier to buy it,
unless you enjoy building.
But if you enjoy building, and if you're a handy person, I'm not that kind of handy person. If I build things, it never comes out right. So it's just easier and less painful for me just to buy it.
Unless it's shelves.
Pardon me?
You're good at shelves.
Shelves. I'm good at garage shelves, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really am
You've
good.
done that enough times.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to let you guys know, I have better pictures of it. We've put a gold coin on eBay, and I'll put that link here.
Gold coin necklace.
It's a gold coin pendant necklace. Let me scroll down here so you can see the whole thing. If you've ever wanted to buy a pendant for your loved one. So it's a 1882 $10 gold piece. And there's the back. It also comes with a 24-inch 14-karat gold chain and bezel. So it's a pretty complete pendant. And it's priced just above melt value right now, based on all the calculations that I did. So I'll put that link in there if you have any interest in. And I've got some better pictures of it, or closer pictures of it, if you have any interest in buying a gold pendant for an upcoming birthday, maybe.
That's what Kevin's dad did. He bought it for his mom's birthday.
Oh, is that where it comes from?
Yeah.
So these are all these coins that you've been seeing us deal in various ways, including making a trip down to people who just buy coins, are from a collection that was made by Kevin's father. And when he passed away, he willed them to Kevin and his two brothers. And Shelley and I have been taking care and monetizing it, because the value of silver is up, and a lot of this stuff was silver. So this was one of the pieces, this gold piece. And I think we had a long conversation about whether or not Shelley would like something like that, and she decided no. So we put it up on eBay if you guys are at all interested.
Trying to get decluttered in my place.
Yeah. All right. So these are our photos from the 2023 Treasures of the Earth Gem, Mineral, and Jewelry show that took place at the Creative Arts Center on the New Mexico State Fairgrounds. So we didn't have to drive too far. And this is, Shelley always reminds me to get a picture of the front of the building. So this is the front of the building. But what's great is this guy here, he asked if he could take our picture for us because we were trying to take a selfie, and he ended up taking it for us.
What was he demonstrating? He had some kind of
I think he was
rock tumbler or crusher or
something? He was, I think, so remember we walked in and there was one, and you'll see the picture with you in just a minute. There was one table and it was all equipment of various kind, jewelry and gold processing. He was in there. He went and moved that to his truck and then went back in there, and he was behind the booth there. So that's where I saw him again. That's the picture he took for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was very kind. It was very nice. He watched us trying to take the selfie, and then he said, "Can I take that picture for you?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So this is as you walked in. It was so. Here's the deal with state fair. Any event on the state fair grounds, take cash, because the first thing that you're going to have to do is pay as you enter just for parking, and they charge by the car, and they don't take credit or debit cards. You have to have cash or checks. It's got to be cash. And then when you walk into the events like this, I'm going to say, I was going to say generally speaking, but I don't think I've ever been to an event where you could hand them a debit or credit card. They always require cash. So, and I don't carry a lot of cash. I have to remind myself every time I'm going down to the state fairgrounds to take cash with me. So the Creative Arts Center is one of the bigger indoor facilities, excluding the Coliseum down there. So there was a lot of room for this event, and it filled the room. There were hundreds of vendors there, so we got to see a lot. But again, when we walked in, was it $7 per? $5 per person.
But it was $7 for parking.
Oh, that's right. So $7 per person. I'm sorry, $7 per car for parking, $5 per person for the event, and cash only.
It would have been cheaper on Friday, but it was snowing.
But
Friday.
it snowed. And they always remind you, there is an ATM machine on the other side of the building if you have to use it. But I made some cash bids on some silent auction things, so I had to use the ATM anyway. And it was the ATM at this, the ATM charged you $3, and then I noticed my bank charged me another $3, so it's a 6% toll on using that ATM machine. But hey,
so take cash.
Take cash. Better
Save
take
yourself.
lots of cash. So this was the kind of event that it was, where you saw a lot of different kinds of specimens in a broad variety of conditions. So there were raw specimens like we're seeing right here. There were slabs. There were polished, cut and polished cabochons. There were gemstones that had been faceted, and there were gemstones that had been faceted and put into jewelry. So we tried to get photographs of each of the different varieties, and there's some overlap here. Oh, and then there were fossils, and the fossils were again either kind of raw, just unfinished, or some I ended up, and you'll see it at the end of the photo session, I ended up buying another trilobite because it was much more refined. It was Morocco, but it was much more refined than the trilobite I had purchased in Las Cruces. So. But so this was right at the front door, and this was the equipment guy. And so they had, these things are rock tumblers here, rock tumblers. These are ring sizers. So you can, this is for the top part is for making a ring larger. This bottom part is for making a ring smaller. And then these are the slabs. So these were cut and polished slabs from various stones. And they tell, generally speaking, when they sell them to you like this, they tell you where they come from. So this was an equipment, that's a furnace right there. So you can use that for making jewelry. You can use it for making silver clay jewelry. You can use it for, what are those pendants that I made for you?
Dichromatic glass?
Dichromatic glass. So that furnace will do all of that. But again, this was all mostly, I'd call this jewelry making equipment versus treasure hunting, things like that. Gold prospecting. There were some of these vendors. There's one vendor that we're going to show you in just a bit, but this is one of those vendors that had all the beads, and then they had some other material here. So a lot of these folks are in business, but there are a lot of these folks whose business is collecting and selling rocks, which I thought was kind of neat, that they've made a business out of their hobby. These are the cut and polished cabochons, and I saw cabochons in pretty much every stone format, from opal to turquoise to tiger eye, excuse me, to malachite. So it was a broad and varied collection. They usually sell these by the carat weight or the gram weight. It depends on the vendor and the stone. But jewelers
Apparently, I'm supposed to talk now. We found that this show had a large variety. They had good prices, and they were willing to make deals because it was the third day of a 3-day event. So definitely worth going to. And if you knew what you were looking for, you'd probably be able to find it here.
So before, there were a couple of vendors that I bought, and the approach, let me tell you the approach we take. So we get in and pay, and then I do a quick overview of like, what kind of layout is this? And then what we do is we shoot. We go through and we shoot all the video that we want to shoot. And then I'll go back and Shelly will take a break and I'll go back and shoot the photos that you're looking at right now. These weren't extracted from the video. These were done separately. And then we go back after we've done that, and we'll go back, and if there's anything that we want to buy, that's when we do it. So it's kind of the third round. But since we've already made the videos and the photos, it's real easy because we know exactly where we're going back to. And um, so it's 3 tours. We get really familiar, and we end up talking to a lot of people. You don't see it in the video. You won't see us talking. I usually cut that stuff out. But we end up talking to a lot of people, and the vendors. I've never met a vendor that I didn't like. Like, they're good people, and they're interested in doing business with you. And in a couple of cases, I was going to say, a couple of cases, I didn't even have to negotiate down. They'd look at them and they'd say, how about 50 for both of them, like that. Usually I'll start the negotiations, but I think Shelley's right, because it was Sunday and because they had one snow day that probably didn't benefit them. They were kind of negotiating without even having to ask. So it was very good. Anything to add?
They had a couple of booths that were, one was for gold prospecting, one was for faceting jewels. They had displays that, they had different things going on. They had auctions going on throughout the day. They were giving away door prizes. So there was a lot going on. They had a food booth, so you could sit down and have some lunch.
So this is one of the jewelers that sold faceted gems in gold and silver settings, and it was really very beautiful work. Very expensive, but very beautiful. I feel like we're going the wrong way here, because
you're the one that loaded the pictures.
I know. Hang on. What's going on here? Yeah, I'm going backwards. Okay.
Well, it's all big circle.
My bad. That's okay. Yeah, it's all a big circle. So these are what I was talking about. These are slabs. So they've taken stones that they've rock hounded, collected, and then they cut them into slabs. And some people will get them to the point where the slabs are so thin you can actually shine a light through them. So they'll start making lamps and things like that. These were cut but not polished. So you had a choice of whether to polish them or not. The reason they put them in water is because water makes them look like they're polished, so you get a sense of what they'll look like if that's something that you want to do. And if you're a jeweler, sometimes you'll just buy the slab and you'll finish the cut. You'll cut the cabochon, cut and polish the cabochon from the slab, and you'll get several pieces. So it's easy or less expensive for a jeweler to buy them in this condition if they end up having to do it themselves and they have the right equipment to do it themselves. So a lot of finished jewelry, a lot of turquoise jewelry, and it varied in price. I saw some stuff that was really, really well priced, and other stuff that I thought was way overpriced. Turquoise is like that. People, not all, not all jewelers are Native American turquoise jewelers. There's a lot of people that work in turquoise, and when you can go to a show like this, and I think I have a picture of one of the collections of turquoise cut and cabochoned material. When you can buy it like that, you can teach yourself the silver work that you need to start making jewelry from it. But it starts expensive. Turquoise is getting progressively more rare. Most of the turquoise in New Mexico is gone. There's very little left. There's lots more in Arizona, in the Bixby.
Bisbee.
area, and then a lot of it in Mexico. So some of it's coming up from Mexico, and you can tell the Mexican turquoise because it's lighter. It's got more white in it, and the Arizona jewelry is a little bit more green rather than blue. The New Mexico really was kind of the standard for what turquoise should look like, the bluish green, primary blue with green undertones. The stuff that comes from Arizona tends to be green with bluish undertones. So, but I've got a shot of that. A lot of polished rocks, and these are for the collectors. I didn't know it until I went to the show, but I asked why the polished rocks. They're not cut like cabochons, things like that. And these rocks have been tubbled, and he said there are people who only collect the polished stones. So you can have a jasper, for example, and you can have the raw stone, as you can see over here on the left, but they have that jasper over here on the right, and it's been polished, and some people will expect to buy that. You can see all this raw material up here. This guy had really good prices, I thought. So this is one of my favorites, the azurite, and when you get them in sizes like this is probably a $75 specimen. And Shelley's stepfather, Richard, is a rock hound. Is he a geologist by training? No, he is a rock hound, and he has mostly the big specimens. And he was thinking, he told Shelley he was thinking about donating them someplace. So we made arrangements to get the folks at that museum that we went to in Socorro at New Mexico Tech. And the gentleman that runs the museum, the curator, the primary curator, is going to be in the same area as Shelley's parents at the beginning of April. So he's going to go by and visit him and see if he wants his collection. But I've seen the no, I haven't seen all of it. I've seen some of his pieces, and he collects the big stuff. He would be happy with some, a piece of azurite that big, although I'm sure he's got one of his own. So chrysocolla is rapidly becoming one of my favorites. I actually picked up a couple of pieces, raw pieces, in this last show because it has some nice blues and greens, and the blues and greens carry throughout the stone. The only problem with it doesn't make good jewelry because it's very soft. So there's a scale of softness to hardness, and it's called the Mohs scale, MOHS scale, and it goes from 0 to 10. And chrysocolla is about 3. So it's very polished, but it's terrible for making jewelry because it's very soft. And so it's easy to damage if you put it into a jewelry piece, but it's a very good looking stone. So quartz, polished quartz. Now, when they say polished, that means the quartz has been taken out of the ground and they may have faceted. Usually they'll tell you if they've actually cut facets into it. And you always have to ask. And they will tell you, if you ask, if you pick it up and show it to them and say, is this faceted? They'll tell you, yes, it is, or no, but it is polished, because a piece of quartz won't come out that sparkly out of the ground. You have to clean it. And then generally speaking, you have to polish it. But there are some, I say this like it's illegal. It's not illegal to cut a piece of quartz, facet a piece of quartz, and give it some more character. More polished stones, including polished pyrite, polished and cut pyrite. They had these little polished and cut pyrite hearts, but this is raw pyrite here. And pyrite comes in a lot of different forms. It comes in big chunky forms. It comes in this real small granular form. The kind that we used to find up in Pecos was always very small pieces, even though they would have little cubes in it. It generally comes out in cubes when you see it. And here's some lapis that's been polished. Lapis can get very expensive because it's also a jewelry maker stone. This is amber, and this particular case that he had was the amber that had insect inclusions. So some of these insects are literally tens and hundreds of billion years old, and they're captured in amber. And then that amber, there's a place in Bulgaria where it washes up onto the shore. and the Bulgarians take that and they polish it, cut it, polish it, and sell it all over the world. But he had two cases. One was amber with physical inclusions like little bubbles and things like that. These inclusions were all insects of different kinds. So it was very cool. Some more ammonites. People will take the ammonites because by this time, the time they're fossilized, they're at anywhere from 65 to 100 or 65 to 300 billion years ago, and that means they're pretty solid. So that means A, you can cut them pretty easily, and B, you can polish them. Now, it's not an easy job. There's probably, I don't know, 12 to 14 hours worth of work, actually more in this, because not only did they polish it, but then they cut it so that it came out into a dish. You can see these are the dishes it says right there, right? You can see how they're rounded into a dish that you could use for, I don't know, candy. Shelley almost bought some fossil dishes too, but she couldn't. She kept going, I don't know what to do. Well, we're going to put tapas in them. This is amethyst, and this kind of amethyst, when you see it with a backing like this, it has the quartz right here, and then the rock backing usually was just a large geode. And when they cracked it, it broke. I mean, they broke it into pieces. I did get one of those. I'll show you a picture of it in just a bit. So this is that Canadian jade that's really light colored, and you can tell because it has lines. It's not very valuable if you look at it, compare it to A, the Chinese jade, or B, the Canadian jade that comes from British Columbia. So it turns out that this jade that comes from British Columbia is actually more pure in character and more pure in color than the jade that they find in China. So there are companies who own the properties. Only Canadians can own mineral claims in Canada. So what happens is they'll get the claim, and then they work hand in glove with a Chinese importer to get them the jade that they need to build, everything from jewelry to statues and things like that. Of course, the Chinese believe that there's a spiritual value in jade, and we did have a Chinese vendor there, and I could tell. I asked him just for the heck of it. And he said, I asked him where did the jade come from, and he said China, and I already knew the answer to the question just by the color of what was there. It wasn't ugly, but I could tell it wasn't the Canadian jade because the Canadian jade is almost emerald in color and very vibrant. It has very vibrant color to it. So here again are some cut cabochons from labradorite and moonstone. Labradorite, it has an opalescence to it. It changes color depending on where the light is coming from. But also lapis, and these are all pieces that a jeweler could take and put them into a shape and make a pendant out of them. So they'll come and buy these by the gram. Usually they'll pick the ones that they want, they'll weigh them out, and they'll sell them to you by the gram. And how much you pay is dependent on what kind of stone. So the lapis, well, the lapis is going to go for more than the moonstone, and the labradorite is going to go for more than the lapis, et cetera, et cetera. So these are just some quartz. I think this was the place before the gentleman with the jade.
That's the jade right there.
Oh, this is the jade vendor, and see that color right there. That's very much Chinese color. And this is the lighter of it. This is the darker of it. These pieces are a little bit darker, but they're all from China, and you can tell just because they don't have that emerald tint to them. If you see Canadian jade, the jade that comes from the British Columbia, you can literally tell the difference, and it sells for more. In China, Canadian jade sells for more than Chinese jade, not because it travels further, but because it is just a better looking brand of jade. But if you want, the Chinese believe that having jade in your house or wearing it on your wrist in the form of bracelets or earrings, they all feel like there's a positive spiritual value that goes along with jade. So almost all Chinese homes, you'll see all kinds of pieces of jade. They collect them, each family member collects them, and then they pass them on to following generations. So this lady was, I could hear by her accent, she was Vietnamese. She was Vietnamese American, but she had a Vietnamese accent. And she had this collection of literally all kinds of beads. Now, when you see collections like these aren't made in America. These, generally speaking, are made in Asia, most likely, and then they're shipped to America. And they may have a relationship with a Chinese exporter in order to get this in these volumes. They did have a couple of turquoise, but they looked dyed to me. They looked too good. Like there's a point at which is just too much. I was fascinated by this Canadian amylite. It turns out that Canada has some really very cool minerals. This is the Canadian amylite. And what's neat about it is it actually comes from fossil beds that were populated by the dying, that 65 million years ago, ammonites, right? Those little spiral creatures that didn't make it past the last mass extinction. But somehow or the other, as they aged through the eons, they acquired this opalescence to them, and that all comes from chemicals. You got to remember this: Joule's minerals are all about chemistry, right? You start with a basic silicon oxide, and then you end up that'll get you quartz, and then you add a little bit of other chemicals to it, or heat, and that'll give you an amethyst, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the same thing happens here, but whatever combination of chemicals ended up on top of these ammonites gave it this opalescence. Now, these were really expensive. This little piece, I picked it up, and it was $700. But it is so unique a piece. You'd want to make it, if you were a jeweler, you'd want some of these pieces to make some really expensive jewelry. But I had never seen it before. When you go to we posted the photo album in the description box. Go take a look at this and read this article that they have, rare iridescent gemstone, which is found in the Alberta province in Canada. So, and that's the only place they've found it so far. So here's some more examples. I thought, in my opinion, that's redundant. In my opinion, the pieces were kind of large and oddly cut. If it was me, I would make them smaller, and I would make them regular cuts like rectangles or ovals or circles. Now, you could make a really fine piece of jewelry out of, say, this big one here, but that would be a really big piece of jewelry. And if you're going to go through all the trouble of cutting it and polishing it anyway, why not cut it and polish it in what is a regular dimensions? So this guy sold specimens, but they were like the best specimens you could find for whatever mineral you were looking for. You can always tell when they put that extra effort of wrapping them, and that's that tissue paper that they wrap around it. That's rhodochrosite,
Dendrite.
rhododendrite.
I think so.
Yeah. But over here, you can see, let me see if I took pictures of those. I think there's some of those peridot bombs that we were talking about last week. So these were the little fossil bed plates. So there's a fossil bed in which a bunch of creatures died all at the same time. They all went down at the bottom of the ocean, died all at the same time, 65 million years ago, and then they fossilized. And when you get a fossil bed like that, you can cut out pieces of the fossil bed, and then we showed you some when we went to the Gem and Mineral Show in Las Cruces. You can take and you can cut out a piece of the fossil bed, and then you can turn it into something. In this case, they've turned them into these little dishes. I think these are incense things. There's a mortar and pestle here, things like that. So again, very, very original and very creative. There was one guy, and one whole side of his display was teeth. And I thought they were just shark's teeth, but then I noticed some of the others. There was a gentleman there who was breaking geodes. They were smaller than the geodes that Martin had in Las Cruces. And as a result, he could use the smaller chain breaker. I checked, that one's a $400 chain breaker if you want to ever get into the business of geodes. And his geodes were smaller. He was selling them at the same pick a geode, fixed price, and then he would crack it open for you. They were pretty good looking. I watched over the shoulder, and he picked them up. So one of my goals when I went there was to find some uh, lode gold bearing ore, meaning some ore that had been dug out of a mine where there had been lode gold deposits, not placer deposits, but lode gold. That means they were digging for gold, and they were collecting the ore, they were processing the ore, and they were squeezing the gold out of it. So I wanted to do that because I recently bought something called the Mighty Mill, and it's a tool that you run with your Ryobi grinder. Basically, that's what you can use any grinder, but it beats the heck out of these rocks and it turns it into a powder, and then you pan the powder for gold. So what I wanted to do, I bought one of these Mighty Mills. It's not going to be here. He batches his orders once a month. So he takes the orders on eBay, and then he tells you what day this batch is going to be shipped. And this batch that I'm in is going to be shipped in the first week in April. But because of its weight, it's not going to show up here until the last half of April. So I wanted to see if I could find some stones that might have come, a collection of rocks that might have come from an area in which there was lode gold, not placer gold. And sure enough, I found a box here. The problem was these boxes were only sold to kids 17 and under in case they wanted to enhance their own collections, I guess is kind of the opinion. And the guy told me, and he said, well, if you could find a kid that can buy for you, I can sell them to him. But I felt like, I don't want to be that kind of creepy. What do you do? Excuse me, can I borrow your son for a while? So
So you bid on the box instead.
well, there was another box. We'll show you that. I got a picture of that as well. So you can see they had quite a bit of stuff. And there were a lot of kids coming by, and they would pick rocks and they would weigh them out, and they would give them it was, they didn't charge them what other vendors would be charging for the same specimens. So, and that gentleman there, that's the one the tall gentleman right there is the one I talked to. And he knew his, specimens. I mean, he knew what they were getting and what they wanted. So a lot of kids going through there. So this is bismuth. We've talked about it before. It's a mineral that has a very low melting point. You can actually melt it with a match. And so what people do is they'll take some bismuth and they'll melt it. And it doesn't. It's like energy. It can neither be created nor destroyed. It's always just there. So they'll get the bismuth and melt it, and you don't need a high heat furnace. It'll just, like I said, you can make a fire, and you can do it on your stove. And it'll melt, and then you pour it out. And as you pour it out, you move it, and it makes these beautiful little specimens of bismuth. And it's cool because the photo doesn't do it justice, but they come out in rainbow colors. And so it's very attractive. There are people who pour out large amounts of the bismuth, and then they carve them into animals and other objects that. So I like this guy's pricing model. He had all these cabochons, and then depending on what dot they had on the back, you could get them for as little as $10 or as much as $20, but that's pretty good pricing for a finished cabochon. So like the tiger eye right here would be the $10. I'm trying to see where we would find some higher priced material here. I don't think that's true. That looks like chrysocolla there.
You said chrysocolla was not good for jewelry, though.
It isn't.
So
That's
why
very
would
soft.
They do it
I don't
that
know.
way, then?
I don't know if you would. So this is what we were talking about. These are called peridot bombs, and they come in that kind of rock that we see in the river of rock up on the Rio de los Pinos.
Rio de los Pinos.
Rio de los Pinos. And what you do is you see this rock, and it's volcanic rock. It's I always want to call it balsamic. What's the word that I'm looking for?
Basalt.
basaltic, not balsamic. It's basaltic rock. But if you crack this rock open and you pick the right one, it cracks open and it has what these things are right here, and they call them peridobroms. They're peridot. Peridot forms the gemstone or semi-precious gemstone. Peridot forms inside these lava that turns into basalt when it forms these little holes, these gaseous holes, and the chemicals along with water start working into them and they form peridot. And there's so many of these gaseous holes and so much of this chemical, they form these peridot bombs. And I was going to buy one and I thought, I'm going to wait till the next one. I mean, this guy had quite the collection. So if you ever get up to that area that we used to search for, you'll see the river of rock. I think I showed you guys last time. You can see it on Google Earth. And just take a hammer and chisel with you and start chiseling away at those things. You'll find your own peridot bombs. Where eye protection. Yeah. So this is limonite and
Not leverite?
not leverite.
Cassiterite?
Nope. And this is the kind of material that you might find around a gold mine. And the reason you might find it is because it's that reddish color from the iron. So there's minerals in the area. And when you see one mineral, generally speaking, you can look for other minerals. And so when you see this red color and you see it in a pile of rocks, that means there's been a miner there before going through looking for the potential for gold. But it was in that collection for the 17-year-old and younger, so I couldn't even buy it. So I could try my new little grinder. Somebody had some used, this was on the kids, in that kids area where you could buy books and magazines. Good collection of specimens, well organized, priced all of them, so you didn't have to know, you didn't have to ask. They did a good job of pricing everything. A lot of different kinds of jewelry. I shot this one because it was very different from most of the other jewelry. The other jewelry had a Southwest look to it. This was more, East Coast, modern kind of looking to me. Is that one? Including that right there, which I thought is just a chunk of, they made a piece of jewelry out of a chunk of malachite azurite. Overview shot. Oh, wait, let me see. Was that I thought that was, they did have a little food stop that sold barbecue, brisket, barbecue brisket sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
Put your mic. Barbecue brisket sandwiches and ribs and pizza. I didn't get the combination, and drinks. They had drinks. So this was the New Mexico Facetors Guild. And they were every once in a while, they do a demonstration of faceting stones. And I think they had, let me see if I got the picture. Yeah. So these were some of the stones that they had faceted. And faceting is when you take a gemstone and you grind it but you have to do, there's a set of rules that you have to follow in order to get the glistening that you're looking for in the faceting. So it's quite the thing. That's why it's an actual guild. Like you have to join as an apprentice and work your way up. It's very cool. And then there were these guys, the New Mexico Gold Miners Association, or the NMGMA. I've been thinking about joining. I went to a couple of their meetings several years ago, and I think it was that I wasn't impressed. They seem to be a little bit disorganized to me, but I found out since then that they've got better with their organization. They can now certify you on their claims. They had claims. When I asked him where your claims located, he said Hopewell, San Pedro, and do you remember the third?
No, I don't.
Hopewell, San Pedro. Anyway, there were the three locations where I know they're, geologically speaking, they're a placer deposit. So they had them in the right locations. Now, the only problem with prospecting in New Mexico is rarely do you get to prospect on a claim that has water with it. So you do a lot of dry prospecting. dry washer, dry prospecting, a lot of digging, and a lot of throwing dirt around. But I think I'm going to join. I'm going to go to their meetings. Their meetings are on Thursdays. Um,
Come to the
so,
GPA and we would
are
love
you a
to
member,
have you.
Ken? Yeah. So I'm going to go to. I did get their information. So I did get. I'm going to go to their next meeting and just show up and see what they're doing. They had a little panning demo, but oh, see this guy right here. So this guy recognized that he was one of the folks. I took it out of the video because the conversation went on for way too long. But he was what both Shelley and I have worked with him, and he recognized us before we recognized him. But once he started telling the stories, we realized that we had worked with him in the past. So he's a background actor, and that's where he knew Shelley from because they were in a lot of the movies together. So there was this one section, let me show it to you. So there was this one section that had all these displays that had been put up by some of the members of the Albuquerque Gem and Mineral Society. And they each had different things. They each had a different thing. You'll see them all. I walked by them all in the video. And what you had to do with it, when you came into the door, they gave you your pass, they gave you a small ticket, and then they gave you a
thing for a door prize.
A door prize. So you filled that out. So the idea here was you would go to the one that you liked the best, and you would put your coupon in there, and that person, depending on the number of votes, would get a separate prize. So we went and voted. I voted for this one, which I thought was very cool, the mining equipment one. The old timers mining equipment one I thought was very cool. So I voted for that one. And then Shelley voted for this one. And I didn't know why. I was going to ask you why you chose this
Because
one.
they put so much work into it.
Yeah.
There's lots of information on
Yeah.
each thing that's in there.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, they would just put a book in there and then that was supposed to be, the explanation.
Right.
I thought this was a lot more work. So
Yeah. So
and it looks very nice and organized. And
yeah, it
neat.
was. It was, somebody put a lot, like Shelley said, somebody put a lot of work into it. So these were cuts, pendants. You could buy the
And
finished pendant
rings.
and get it joined. Yeah, there's some rings down here. Okay, so they had a silent auction. And I thought to myself, well, if I can't get any of those rocks from that guy that only sold to 17 years old and younger, maybe I could find one in the silent auction. So I went looking around and I thought, well, this was my best option. It had a lot of mineral-based stones. I thought maybe if I crush them up, I'll find, I'll use my mighty mill to crush them up and see if I can find a couple of flakes of gold in it. So this was on the table for the silent auction. The minimum bid was 10, so I bid 10, and I got it. So I brought these rocks home with me. And I still
I thought
have.
you had to fight with that other woman, and you had to bid 20.
No, well, you're right. I bid. That was the one. So I bid 10. She bid 12. No, 15. So I bid 20, and then she wrote 17 afterwards. She didn't exactly get that. So thankfully, the lady scratched it out, said, no, you have to bid more than the 20 to do it. So, but she was very nice. I mean, she said something like, oh, I didn't know you outbid me. I said, yeah, the 20 is more than the 50. And more
Lots
than
of nice specimens. We took that over to the booth where there is a member of the Gem and Mineral Society, an older member who's been around a long time, has a lot of geology knowledge, and he went through the pieces and told us what they were. He had a little he had a
stereo
microscope,
stereo
that he would
microscope.
look through, and then he also had a UV light that he would shine on them to kind of test what they were. And
like I said, I was planning on just crushing these and panning them out for gold, but he was so good about like, oh, look, here's a chrysocolla, and here's
some of them he named where they came from too.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was amazing. Not only could he tell you what it was, he could say, oh, this is a chrysocolla. It came from down there at such a. He could tell you exactly where it came from. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
I want that obsidian.
Pardon me?
I want that piece of obsidian.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, it did have a piece of obsidian in it. This was one of the pieces of calcite or was it fluorite?
No, I think that was calcite.
Calcite, but it was the kind of calcite that would fluoresce under the UV light. So, oh, that was the other thing. So there was this very unusual piece. I didn't take a picture of it. I'll show it to you the next time. And it looked like a piece of quartz, but it had a tube in it, like you could
Oh,
see where
yeah.
the tube
There was like a
went
little
up.
cave. Teeny
Yeah,
cave.
yeah, a little miniature cave in it. And I thought it was quartz, and he said no, that it was fluorite, and that it would fluoresce under the UV light. And he said that's where I didn't know this, even though I've got a fluorescent microscope. Um, the word fluorescence comes from the name of the stone, fluorite. Because after they named the stone, they realized that under a UV light it would fluoresce. And I don't know if you watched our show. If you go back and watch our show, when we were down at Socorro, they have an entire room dedicated to fluorescent minerals under two different wavelengths, the long wavelength and the short wavelength. And you flip a switch and you can see the difference. So, and they fluoresce. Oh, Ken says he knows David.
Yeah.
So this is just one shot. It was a quick shot of the specimens that I bought while I was there. So I found my wolfenite. What?
Nothing. I was going to say you switched again, but you were seeing you saw it.
Wait, what?
I was just going to say you switched again, but you'd already were looking at it, so never mind.
Yeah. So I did find my specimen of wolfenite. This is not from New Mexico. It's from Chihuahua, Mexico, but I was willing to do it. And I didn't notice, but the price is still stuck on there. I didn't pay that for it because I selected, I think it was 3 of them. And then when I handed them to the vendor, he said, oh, give me 80 for all of them or something like that. So, but I was looking for this because I saw a guy that's called the Crystal Collector on YouTube, and he had just been someplace and collected a bunch of wolfenite, and it was about this size. Some of the better specimens. He had some. There's another category of wolfenite, and it looks more like the inside of a geode. And Shelley saw some of those. As a matter of fact, she found those, and she said, "Is this what you were looking for?" And I was very specifically looking for this, crystal style wolfenite. While I was there, he also had a specimen of dioptase, and I used to have one of Russian dioptase that I bought when I was in Russia, and I lost it somewhere in my travels. I lost it, so wanted to get another piece. And again, you can polish these, and they make beautiful gemstones. It's not a precious gemstone; it is a semi-precious gemstone, but they cut very nicely, and they've got that beautiful, emerald, deep emerald green color. So I thought I'd get that. This one is from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Haute Katanga, the Tantara mine. This is a piece of what is referred to as native copper. This is how it comes out of the ground, and it's up in a area called the Kanawha Peninsula in Lake Superior. It's one of the only places in the United States that you can find them. And there was a whole culture of Native American tribes that were based on, and they call it the copper culture, that were based on the collecting of this copper and then turning it into utensils and tools and weapons and things like that. Now, copper is very soft, so it doesn't necessarily make great weaponry. But if you're just going to, it's not going to hold the edge of a knife, for example. But you can make an arrowhead out of it. But this is how it comes out of the ground, and that's why they call it native copper. You don't do any refining. You can literally back then, and if you happen to be in this peninsula that is off the upper peninsula into Lake Superior. It comes out of the ground and you can start processing it there. You can start putting it in a furnace and melting it. But I never had a piece, and I've always wanted a piece of native copper. And there was this vendor his name was Volunteer Gems and Minerals. And I thought it had to do with the fact that he was military. Shelley you had another idea on it.
No.
Well, it turned out he was from Tennessee.
Volunteers for things, or some kind of charity or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. He was from Tennessee, and the University of Tennessee, or the Volunteers, they call them the Vols. The reason I know that is because one of my daughters not only went to the University of Tennessee, but married a guy that was attending the University of Tennessee. And now they have two beautiful little girls. Just amazing. Isn't that wonderful how that works out? So you remember that trilobite that I showed you guys last time? I thought it was also from Morocco, but it wasn't very well rendered. You know, they didn't do a real good job. They just kind of washed it off, and I have the feeling that one day if I pick it up wrong, it's going to break. So I was looking for another trilobite, and this one was still in the matrix. They left it in the matrix. It was polished. The eye stems, you can see where they would have been. The eye stems come out of there, but you could see that, and you could see the beginning of the appendages right there. So I thought it was a very nice specimen of a trilobite. So I went with that one. I don't know what I'll donate the other one to, Goodwill, I guess. I don't know. So I finally found my specimen of smithsonite. This was on the table that was the silent auctions. So this is about 4 inches across, but it was that bubbly light green smithsonite that pardon me?
Aqua.
Is that what you call aqua? Yeah. That comes from the Kelly mine down south, because that's like the New Mexico. And I knew there were several specimens out there. The cheapest specimen that I saw out on the floor was $250, and it was just a little bit bigger than this one. So they're getting really expensive. They're getting more rare, and when somebody has some, they're asking a premium price. This was on the silent auction table, and the minimum bid was $140. And I thought, I'm not going to get another chance to get one this cheaper. I haven't seen one that inexpensive since I've been looking for one. So I decided bid the 140, and then I waited until I knew the auction was going to end within the last 15 minutes of the hour. So I went back and I just stood by it in case somebody else bid higher than me. Nobody did, so I got it for the $140. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but I've been looking for it a long time. I wanted it desperately because it's very New Mexico. This was from the Kelly mine, and it gave me an opportunity to talk to the gentleman that had collected the specimen. And I said, did you have permission from the Kelly mine to collect this specimen? And he said, the Kelly mine has been abandoned, and it's been abandoned for 5 or 6 years now. And I said, but don't they still have the claim? And he says, nope, you can still go back up there. It's an abandoned claim. And I said, are you going in the mine? He said, no, the material that I found so far has been outside the mine, because I don't think anybody wants to go in an abandoned mine unnecessarily unless you're really serious about it. Because that's why the price of these things have gone up, because there's a risk involved in getting this stuff out. So I think what happened the next time we head down in that direction, we're going to make a side trip to the Kelly mine and see how difficult. So one of the things about mine claims in New Mexico is they're not easy to get to. It's not like there's going to be a parking lot. It's usually a climb up a road that requires a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and it's big enough for one 4-wheel drive vehicle at a time. And then there's probably some additional hiking. They're never in easy to get to locations. And again, that's why the price was. But I was happy to get this one for the price that I got it. And then I got this. This is amethyst, and it comes from a geode, a very large amethyst geode. It was broken up, so I got a good price on this as well. I think I only had to pay $12 for this one. But beautiful purple amethyst. And then it had a couple of really beautiful quartz crystals with points up here, and I thought that was a great specimen, so I was happy to get that one. And that's the box of rocks. So you can see chrysocolla here, cut chrysocolla there. There's the tube, the calcite with the tube in it.
Fluorite, you said.
I'm sorry, fluorite, not calcite. The calcite was right here. So there's calcite here and here. But he was so good, he'd pick it up, and half the time he didn't have to look at it. He'd say, oh, this is calcite from, down south, some location down south. So he was very good at picking it. So I'm probably not going to, I guess what I'm going to have to do is
But
eventually.
he also told Toby the sad news that there's no reason to crush that rock because there's not going to be any gold in it.
No. That's the problem with living in New Mexico. The gold, there's what little gold there was is 99 in New Mexico is pretty much all gone. And what's left, you're going to have to work your butt off, and you're always going to do more work than you're ever going to get as a return. You can't make a living on prospecting and mining gold in New Mexico. So you just have to go someplace. This is a close up. So this is that 1882 $10 gold coin that we put up on eBay today, in the pendant. So we didn't take it out of the pendant. We left it in the pendant. The pendant and the bezel and the chain are 14 karat gold. This is, as usual, 90%. It's 90. All coins are 90%, so it's 90% gold, and it's that rope chain style. So we thought it was pretty good. We're asking a fair price for it. It's like I said, it's just above the melt value of the gold in both the, and that's not plated. That's 14 karat gold, solid gold, on the chain, and then 21.6. The coin itself is, because it's 90%, it's 21.6 carats. And so you calculate the price.
Carats.
Mm-hmm.
21.6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's 90%. So gold.
I get it.
Okay.
Just checking it. You said it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think? What?
Well, I didn't know if you meant carats or if you meant grams.
Oh, no. It's 4.68 grams, I think, something like that. But it's 21.6 carats. So that's carats, not weight. Carats in purity. Yeah.
That's it.
That's
all the photos. So we had a great time. The Gem and Mineral Show. And the next Gem and Mineral Show we'll be going to is at Truth or Consequences, and that's coming up this weekend. It's their first show down there. We plan to go to the show on Saturday, and then on the field trip on Sunday. You should probably call and make sure they know we're coming.
I was going to call on Friday. And we got kind of a free day.
Yeah. So it is warm and sunny, not super warm, like around the early 60s, the low 60s, and it's supposed to be a little windy that day, but not as windy as it was today.
So they're taking us up. They're doing a field trip up to their mineral claim for the organization down there. They're the Socorro County Rock and Gem Collectors Society, Scraggs. And they're hosting the show. And then both Saturday and Sunday, they're taking
field trips
to their mining claim, and they're going to show you what they do, how they recover their stones and things like that. So we do have a gentleman that has watched us on our other channel since we were a Gypsy's Kiss over there. His name is Silver Fox. Turns out he lives down there. So we're going to get a chance to probably meet him at the show. So if anybody's going to be in Truth or Consequences this weekend, or TOC, nobody says
TRC, they call it.
TRC.
Yeah, TRC.
Make sure you stop by the show. We'll be there pretty much all day Saturday doing our thing, video, photo, and then seeing if there's anything that we want to buy. I'm hoping there's some gold people down there. There wasn't.
Yeah, it says there's going to be gold panning, so I know there's going to be.
Well, that could be just like the gold panning that they did at the GP.
It's something.
Yeah, better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
Yeah. Also, I want to let you know that our friend Cheryl Brown is, she's decided to publish a newspaper, both in print and online, and she's asked us to write an article every month for the newsletter. It's very calendar heavy, which means it's got different sections for arts, music, entertainment, and all the different areas that you might have events going on. And then each page has its own calendar that you can access and find out what's coming up in that, in that area of interest. And she has us writing an article once a month. This first article is going to be about the mining museum in Grants, where we went underground. And so if you want to check that out, it's at NM, the number 4, the letter U, .org.
I just put it in the chat.
NM4U.org that Toby put into the chat. So check that out. And you can subscribe. It's free. There's great information about New Mexico and what's going on around the state.
So Shelley uses Toby and Shelley fast and loose when it comes to writing. She's writing them.
You're taking the photos.
I'm taking pictures, but she does all the writing, and she does an amazing job. So.
Yeah. Well, the photos, each photo is worth 1,000 words, right?
Mm-hmm.
The article's only 500, so.
Oh yeah, but it takes a lot more talent to write those articles than it does to take a picture.
Yeah. It's all right. It's what I like.
I know.
Well, that is what we have for tonight. I look forward to seeing you again next week so we can tell you all about TRC and how that went. We'll be here again tomorrow night for garage prospecting to talk about what are you working on? The new Miller table you got. Well, actually, you already did a video on that.
I did a video on the new Miller table, but I'm using it for the first time and processing some tailings. So I'm processing the Panmore Gold tailings again.
Again.
So, all right, guys, that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining us. There was one other thing that I wanted to say when you were talking just now.
About going to TRC or going garage prospecting?
No.
Oh, check out Garage Prospecting, our channel there. We have the community tab. We keep putting up, blog posts and pictures and fun little things on the community tab. So check that out.
Oh, and sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter is very informative. It comes out every Tuesday morning, and it has all the shows, but it has articles that she's written, articles that I've written, articles that other people have written. So you go to
news.agkmedia.studio.
Right. Yeah. News.agkmedia.studio. It's been the banner. It's been scrolling by in the banner.
Yeah.
Go visit it. Oh, one more comment. Let me see what's going on there. Ken says, thank you, guys.
You betcha.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Ken. We really appreciate it. And all right, here we go. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. We love you.